You're watching Fugitive Red Eye, and welcome to another episode of RDRR. And in today's recanting of me being wrong in the past, we're going to talk about how I was wrong about Jane from Telltale's The Walking Dead. Because, oh wow! Jane is the best character in the Walking Dead and Telltale series, huh? I mean, Zooey Mama! How could anyone not love her? She's just so selfless and caring, totally not someone who abandons people at the first sign of trouble. I mean, she's practically Tony Soprano, if Tony Soprano were a morally bankrupt, emotionally manipulative survivalist who thinks gaslighting a child is the peak of strategic thinking. Zooey Mama! Let's talk about how she's an amazing role model, like Tony Soprano, who runs a tight-knit family business, read Violent Criminal Empire. Jane also believes in strong leadership, which in her case means telling Clementine to ditch everyone and go full lone wolf. What a brilliant strategy! It's not like human connection is the only thing that kept people sane and alive in the apocalypse or anything. Nope. Just abandon everyone and live in perpetual state of paranoia. Zooey Mama, that sounds so fun. And oh boy, let's definitely praise Jane for her flawless decision-making skills. Remember when she pretended that she let a newborn baby die just to provoke Kenny into a fight? Zooey Mama, what a completely reasonable and not at all deranged thing to do. Tony Soprano wishes he had that level of tactical genius. The man manipulated politicians and ran criminal operations, but did he ever think to fake a baby's death just to prove a point? No, and that's why Jane is clearly the superior strategist. Zooey Mama, let's take a second to appreciate how she's totally not a hypocrite. She acts all high and mighty about how Kenny is unstable, but then she, hangs herself and leaves Clementine to clean up the mess. Zooey Mama! Talk about leading by example. Just like Tony Soprano, she totally embodies strength and resilience. Except instead of fighting to survive, she takes the express exit the second things get tough. At the end of the day, Jane is obviously the best character because she teaches Clementine the most important lesson of all. Trust no one. Form no bonds. Assume that caring about people is for chumps. Zooey Mama, what a beautiful and uplifting message. Who needs hope or loyalty when you can have cold, calculated survival at the expense of everyone else? Bravo, Jane. Just bravo. Ah, yes, the legendary showdown between Jane from Telltale's The Walking Dead and Melvin, brother of the Joker. A battle of the ages. A clash of titans. A rivalry so intense, so thought-provoking that even Frank Reynolds crawling out of a leather couch, completely naked and covered in sweat, would be less shocking. But hey, that's just the way the cookie crumbles. First off, let's get one thing straight. This isn't entertainment for all you guys watching. No, this is something deeper, something raw, something visceral. Both Jane and Melvin exist in worlds that are cruel, unforgiving, and filled with absolute maniacs. Melvin had to endure the shower... wow. Melvin had to endure the shadow of his infinitely more famous and interesting brother, while Jane had to deal with Kenny screaming at her for deliberately instigating a fight over a fake dead baby. It's practically the same struggle, but that's just the way the cookie crumbles. Now, both of these elite characters have one thing in common. They act like they have everything figured out, but in reality, they crumble under pressure faster than Charlie Kelly trying to read a legal document. Jane preaches independence, but immediately offs herself the second she's faced with real responsibility. Melvin tries to prove he's as iconic as his brother, but ends up being about as relevant as Dee Reynolds' failed stand-up career. This isn't entertainment for all you guys watching. This is tragedy. This is art. But hey, that's just the way the cookie crumbles. Let's also talk about their brilliant decision-making skills. Jane's master plan? Gaslight a teenager into committing murder. Melvin's master plan? Exist? This isn't entertainment for all you guys watching. This is a lesson on what not to do to try and be a compelling character, and yet somehow they both leave a lasting impact. Jane because she forces Clementine into an unwinnable moral dilemma, and Melvin because, well, he's the brother of the Joker. That's gotta count for something, right? But hey, that's just the way the cookie crumbles. And finally, let's address the elephant in the room. Who would win in a fight? Melvin's got the clown bloodline, and maybe somewhat decent hand-to-hand combat skills, if we assume he's got at least some of the Joker's genetics. Jane, on the other hand, has peak apocalypse survival training, but zero ability to handle emotional stress without immediately self-destructing. At the end of the day, this would probably end like that time Mac got ripped, but still got his butt kicked. Completely anticlimactic and kind of sad, but hey, that's just the way the cookie crumbles. So in conclusion, this isn't entertainment for all you guys watching. This is a meditation on failure, missed potential, and self-inflicted downfall. Jane and Melvin are two sides of the same tragic coin. Forever destined to be forgettable footnotes in their respective franchises, and you know what? That's just the way the cookie crumbles. Oh, let's be so real for a second. Jane from Telltale's The Walking Dead wouldn't last 10 seconds in the world of Family Guy. I mean, come on! This is a universe where Peter Griffin can survive being launched into orbit in a shopping cart, where Brian dies and comes back to life like it's just another Tuesday, and Stewie Griffin has actively time-traveled to commit murder. Jane? Oh, no, no, no. She'd fold faster than a wet paper towel in a hurricane. And you know what? Screw Flanders. Now let's talk about her greatest flaw. She takes herself way too seriously. Family Guy operates on pure chaos energy. You think Jane could handle Quagmire's accidentally buying a haunted Russian submarine off Craigslist? You think she could survive Joe Swanson getting launched through 6 brick walls and still giving a monologue about justice? No way. She'd try her whole lone wolf routine and then BAM! Stewie drops an anvil on her head just for fun. Unforgettable luncheon. And don't even get me started on how she... and don't even get me started on how she'd react to Peter Griffin. The man once got into a fistfight with a giant chicken that lasted 6 minutes straight and spanned multiple continents. Jane? She's gotten into one fight with Kenny and lost so hard she rage quit life. She wouldn't even get 2 words into one of her self-righteous survival speeches before Peter cut her off with a fart joke and a Conway Twitty cutaway gag. Unforgettable luncheon. Screw Flanders. Let's also talk about Meg Griffin. Now, Meg is used to suffering. She's endured psychological torment that would make even Patrick Bateman take a step back. Jane, the second she gets roasted by Peter calling her a weird emo lady with a dumb vest, she's done. She's not built for this world. Unforgettable luncheon. Jane surviving in Family Guy would be about as likely as Jack Dawson surviving the Titanic if he had been made of solid gold. It's like trying to put Anton Chigurh from No Country for Old Men in the middle of the Lego movie. She's about as prepared for this level of randomness as Paul Giamatti in Sideways was prepared for an all-you-can-drink Sprite Cranberry challenge. Unforgettable luncheon. Screw Flanders. At the end of the day, Jane would step into the Family Guy universe, take one look at Peter doing something like reenacting the entire plot of the Fast and the Furious Tokyo Drift with Cleveland's bathtub, and just self-destruct. And you know what? Screw Flanders. Because let's be honest, Jane would be less of a survivor in Family Guy than even Flanders himself. And that, my friends, is an unforgettable luncheon. Alright, buckle up, because I'm about to expose the cold hard truth. Jane from Telltale's The Walking Dead is nothing more than a low-budget, off-brand, apocalyptic ripoff of Dr. Phil. Yeah, I said it. The evidence is overwhelming. The connections are undeniable. And if you don't see it, then you're not ready to get jiggy with it. First of all, let's talk about their entire vibe. Dr. Phil pretends to be a wise, no-nonsense mentor who helps people. But in reality, he just yells at troubled teenagers on daytime television. Jane, exact thing. She rolls up like she's this master survivor. But instead of actually helping people, she just gaslights Clementine into thinking that friendship is a weakness. Oh wow, helpful, Jane. That's like if Dr. Phil looked at a crying teenager in the eyes and said, "You should probably fake your own death to teach your parents a lesson." But hey, that's just how you get jiggy with it. Now let's get into some hard-hitting examples that definitely happened in the game. Remember when Jane made Clementine sit on a giant red chair and say, "I'm a lone wolf, and I don't need no man," while a live studio audience applauded? Textbook Dr. Phil move. Or what about the time she told Kenny, "You're about as stable as a one-legged horse at a rodeo, partner," before sending him to a rehab facility in Texas? Clear plagiarism. And don't even get me started on the famous episode where she told Luke, "If you keep sleeping with people during the apocalypse, you might just get jiggy with it right into an early grave." Absolute carbon copy of Dr. Phil's philosophy. And let's not forget that Dr. Phil is bald, while Jane has hair. You might think this just proves my theory, but wrong! It actually proves it even more, because what better way to hide plagiarism than by giving her hair? It's the perfect crime. You ever see Dr. Phil and Jane in the same room? No, exactly, because if they did, the sheer amount of jiggy energy in one place would break the universe. Also, do I even need to bring up the infamous deleted scene where Jane tells Clementine, "You have to get jiggy with it if you want to survive, Clemmy. You gotta out-jiggy the jiggy before the jiggy jigs you." That line was too powerful to leave in the final cut. The developers knew people would start asking questions about the Dr. Phil connection. At the end of the day, the facts speak for themselves. Jane is just Dr. Phil with a ponytail, spouting hard truths, and acting all high and mighty, and ultimately making things worse for the people she claims to help. The only real difference? Dr. Phil has never left a newborn baby in a blizzard to prove a point. But hey, I guess that's how you just get jiggy with it. Bro, listen, I gotta shoot with you for a second. Jane from Telltale's The Walking Dead is the worst booking decision I've ever seen, bro. I mean, what were they thinking? You got this apocalypse, you got zombies, you got high drama, and what do? They book this chick, Jane, who walks around like she's Stone Cold Steve Austin of the Wasteland, but in reality, bro, she's a jobber. A total mid-card act. And they tried to push her like she's a main event material, bro. First off, let's talk about her gimmick, bro. She's supposed to be a badass lone wolf survivor, right? She's booked to be this tough-as-nails strategist who knows the game. But then what does she do, bro? She eliminates herself from the story. She books her own exit, bro. Imagine if The Rock just decided to leave in the middle of the Attitude Era because he got a little stressed out. That's Jane. She couldn't handle the heat and she took herself out. That's some weak writing, bro. And then, bro, the swerve. The worst swerve in Telltale history. You remember the ending, right? She pulls this absolute Russo tier heel turn where she fakes the baby's death just to prove a point. Bro! What kind of backstage politics is that? You're telling me she thought the best way to expose Kenny was to work him into a shoot over a baby? That's like telling Vince McMahon his limo really exploded. It's bad booking, bro. Let's talk about her match with Kenny, because, bro, that should never have happened. You got Kenny, the grizzled veteran, a locker room leader, a babyface who's been put through hell. And you book him against Jane, who has the charisma of a wet cardboard box, and you expect people to buy that she's an equal threat? That's like trying to push David Arquette as WCW champion, bro. It doesn't work. And then the finish, bro. She jobs to her own bad writing. She pulls this whole Clementine, you don't need anyone routine. And then a few days later, she taps out via suicide, bro. Who wrote this? Who booked this? How do you go from I'm a survivor to, yeah, never mind, I'm out, in the span of one episode? That's like if Hulk Hogan cut a promo about being the strongest force in the universe and then immediately lost clean to Gilbert. It makes no sense, bro. At the end of the day, Jane was just a failed experiment, bro. You tried to make her an anti-hero, but you booked her like a coward. You tried to make her a survivalist, but she got outlasted by her own depression. You tried to make her Clementine's mentor, but she got out-wrestled by a baby in a blizzard. Bad booking, bro. Happy April Fool's Day, everyone. There's another RDRR. Hardy har har. Yeah, with this one I didn't even bother trying to make up a bullshit abbreviation. This one, as you've seen, I've changed up the format with each episode of RDRR, which I'll continue to do. Each episode will be entirely different than the previous. But anyway, hope you enjoyed. Obviously, Kenny's the best character. Jane sucks. Fuck Jane. Happy April Fool's Day. RDRR. Hardy har har.
What am I watching? I don't know, but I hate it.
Subscribe to Fiji Red Eye.